The beauty of our harbour and our city is one of Sydney's best selling points. But the other 4 finalists have their advantages too. John Wiseman, Cameron Williams, Lee Hatcher and Maxine Gray have weighed up our opponents' chances, starting with Manchester.
Manchester failed in its bid for 96 and is trying again for 2000. One of its strengths, holding 80% of the sports within a 25-minute drive of the Olympic Village.
Manchester's famous sporting venues already attract huge and enthusiastic support. And the new Olympic venues will continue the city's proud sporting tradition.
Manchester's greatest strength is government support. British Prime Minister John Major has promised $100 million to build a velodrome and Olympic arena.
We're a sports-mad country. We'll do it very well. But apart from that, we've competed in every Olympic Games since they first began and competed...
And that's a feat shared only by Greece and Australia. Letting Manchester down, the possibility of IRA attacks and the city's image. 16% unemployment, racial tension and rundown housing estates. Manchester hopes the Olympics will help to revitalise the city.
Manchester, the city of the first Olympiad of the 21st century.
Berlin has gone from red-hot favourite to outsider to favourite again. Newly reunified, symbolic of peace and harmony, the city started as a living Olympic symbol. Then Boris Becker spoke out against the bid, and the Berlin Bid Committee admitted to preparing dossiers on the private lives of IOC members. Then there were the neo-Nazi riots and worries about the city's economy. Chancellor Helmut Kohl spoke out against the bid, and privately, German IOC members expressed their doubts. 7 Nightly News correspondent Steve Carey reports on a bid that proved a wild card.
The bid team, housed in a former East German office block, says it has plenty going for it. The Berlin Committee has made much of the reunification of East and West Germany. In effect, the committee is part-selling this bid on history, hoping that the IOC can be swayed on an emotional level to return the Games to Central Europe. For so long, a concept obliterated by the East-West mentality of the Cold War era.
This would put Central Europe back on the map again, which is important, and this would help East and West Germany to overcome the consequences of division by supporting the East German economy.
But there are others who are dead against the idea. People who believe the funds being poured into the Olympic campaign could and should be spent helping rebuild the former East German economy.
Well, I think that the city of Berlin has so many problems, housing problems, infrastructure problems, that the Olympic Games would not be a help, but would be a burden for the infrastructure of the town.
And Berliners themselves, apparently, are yet to be convinced the Olympics would be an asset.
I think it's good, but for the citizens it's bad because it's very crowded. It would be very crowded.
I'm pretty sure it's good for the city, but on the other hand, it costs quite a lot of money.
Controversy aside, a cornerstone of the Berlin bid is the committee's contention that most of the facilities, like this huge Olympic stadium, already are in place. The Berlin Committee sets out its case. Proximity of facilities, most within the Berlin city centre, ease of transport and state-of-the-art communications are the main factors. And it has to be said, Berlin is a vibrant, attractive city, working hard to overcome the hiccups brought about by reunification, that it does have a unique history, and that there is a case to argue the Games would provide an economic impetus, taking it far beyond the year 2000.
Istanbul remains an outside chance despite its ideal geography where Asia meets Europe, a perfect Olympic symbol.
As their campaign says, it's the meeting of continents. They have a fantastically good budget. They could build whatever they need to build, 14 new stadiums, if they were given the Games. Istanbul's handicap is a lack of national sporting tradition outside of 1 or 2 sports. There's no global perception of Turkey as a sporting nation.
Sydney's trump card is the Olympic Park, with all Olympic athletes staying in the one village.
The fact that we can have yachting and rowing in the city of Sydney means that everybody's together in the one Olympic village. Now, without wishing to criticise our opponents, China can't do that, Manchester can't do it, Milan can't do it, and so on.
Brisbane and Melbourne tried for 92 and 96. Some say that Sydney for 2000 proves Australia's commitment to host the Games. If successful, it'll only be the second time that the Olympics have come to the Southern Hemisphere. Also in Sydney's favour, strong community support and the city's beauty.
The great advantage of Sydney is the world's perception of Sydney. Even people who've never been there feel that they have an idea of Sydney.
Counting against Sydney, the distance athletes have to travel. Sydney has, however, promised to pay $39 million in economy airfares for all athletes and officials. And the Paralympics. After some doubts, Sydney left it to the last moment to put in its bid. Bidding for the Paralympics isn't compulsory, but a willingness to hold them and pick up the $90 million tab is looked on favourably.
Beijing's greatest advantage is its population, 1.1 billion people, a fifth of the planet. 7 Nightly News was invited by the Beijing Olympic Bid Committee to take an inside look at their bid, at a city and a country desperate for the Games.
To hold such a big event for the first time would be a very good thing for the Chinese.
We will be proud of holding Olympic Games in Beijing.
The whole country will welcome the chance of holding the Olympic Games.
IOC members are shown the best of Beijing. What they don't see is the Beijing of June 4th, 1989. The Beijing Bid Committee is quick to assure that Tiananmen Square is history.
It will never happen again.
A repeat of Tiananmen Square could cause countries to boycott the Olympics. Boycott or not, the Games would be irresistible to democratic protesters.
This government, like any other government, would not tolerate demonstrations without permission.
Our automatic response is to withhold the Olympics from China as a punishment. But IOC President Samaranch sees the Olympics as a force of change to welcome China into a new world order.
It's an appealing opportunity for Samaranch and the IOC. More than 1 billion people embracing the Olympic movement. 1 billion people buying products from the Olympic sponsors. But could Beijing actually run the Games? In 1990, they proved that they could. They hosted the Asian Games. 6,500 athletes competing in stadiums and arenas built specially for the occasion. And this is another Beijing advantage. These facilities will need upgrading, but to an IOC member, this is an Olympic complex in the making. The Games were declared a success, but for the Olympics, the Chinese would build yet more facilities. A new 100,000-seat stadium, a new swimming centre, a new gymnasium, a new velodrome, and a new high-rise Olympic village. The Chinese are keen to impress, hiring an American film crew to show what Beijing has to offer.
This is Beijing, the capital city of China. A bustling metropolis of more than 10 million people.
The video was shown to IOC members at a sports conference in Acapulco.
It is right and proper that Beijing will beckon the youth of the world. For China recognizes all that is right in the Olympic philosophy. To promote peace and friendship amongst all peoples. And the Chinese people with enthusiasm and warmth await the day to greet the athletes from the family of Olympic nations.
Beijing is also keen to impress the IOC with its infrastructure. Some hotels are as good as any in the world. A new airport is planned, and a system of ring roads will whisk Olympic guests between venues. Air pollution, immediately noticeable in Beijing, was easily solved for the Asian Games. 2 weeks before the athletes arrived, factories were closed down just to clear the air. Beijing hopes to impress the IOC with its commitment to sport. Children as young as 5 come to this school to train, and train, and train. But the People's Republic of China has only competed in 3 Olympics, and this is their first ever bid to hold them. Beijing does have the political strength to hold the Games, but it's yet to prove that it deserves them.
Next, Australia's final presentation to the IOC.
One or two of the IOC members in my travelling who said to me that the presentation was critical for them.
In 40 minutes, we have to get inside their own mind, get inside their heart.
Just 45 minutes in what has been 2.5 years, but because it is the last opportunity that we have to impress the 91 members, and because we're being compared with the other 4 cities in a very visual and very forthright manner, it's important that we emerge the best from the presentation.
My own little dream time kind of feeling, to fly through Australia and arrive in Sydney and somehow present it as the jewel in Australia's crown, so that you journey through and you suddenly reveal Sydney sitting there as a part of the landscape.
The presentation combined 4 short films showing Australia and Sydney, our people and our sport, with addresses by 8 different speakers.
It is not, as many cities have done in the past, a series of speeches with a couple of films. It is designed as a 40-minute show. So the whole 40 minutes is designed on an emotional curve, starting off very flat, picking up all the way through in different emotions, sort of at the very end. The IOC members, if they don't have a tingle up their spines, they should have tears in the corners of their eyes.
Feeling is an international thing. I mean, it is a love. It is a love for the city, and it is a love for sport, and it is a love for the land that we're showing.
First speaker was Australian IOC member and IOC Vice President Kevin Gosper, recalling Australia's Olympic traditions. Premier John Fay followed with a government guarantee of finances should we get the Games. The Australian Olympic Committee's John Coates then reminded members of Sydney's technical credentials. And from an athlete's perspective, Kieran Perkins told how sport is an Australian way of life. Then the team played its trump card.
Hello, Mr. President, members of the IOC. My name is Tanya Blenkhurst. You may be asking why an 11-year-old girl is speaking to you today. Well, the reason is that I have a very important message for all of you from the children of Sydney and Australia.
11-year-old Tanya Blenko had been practicing in secret for the biggest speech of her short life. She was confident she wouldn't be fazed on the day.
I have to talk to them normally. I have to be really natural. It's just like speaking one-on-one. One of the tips I've been given is that you never talk to an audience. You only talk to one person.
Tanya is one of thousands of New South Wales students involved in the BID's twinning program. She and her classmates have written to IOC members and played host during their visits. In Monte Carlo, Tanya represented her colleagues, but she wasn't able to tell them.
Oh, it's a fate worse than death. It's really hard going to school each day thinking, oh, really want to tell them, but you can't, so. But hang on, slow down. Because if I've got to stay up there, I've got to slow down there.
Our only fear is that she's going to upstage everyone. She's going to upstage all the speakers, including the speaker she's going to introduce, and that's the Prime Minister. So there's another nice little scene we've got where we have an 11-year-old girl introducing the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is putting forward a very human face on behalf of Australia, and that is further reinforced by the next person he introduces, and that's his wife, Anita. From her position as a migrant to this country, she's talking very personally about the welcome that she has felt and what multiculturalism actually means in Sydney.
They will be seeing 5 presentations, and it's important that at the end of the day, when they come to vote, that they can still feel Sydney's bid.
You know, in there somewhere is the potential to win 1 or 2 or lose 1 or 2. Now, when you realise that Atlanta only won by 3 or 4, Nagano beat Salt Lake City by 1, I think you've got to come to the view that the presentation is a very important part of it.
Still to come, the voting process.
If Sydney is to win in Monte Carlo, it has to survive a series of ballots by the IOC members. 38 members are from Europe, 19 from North and South America, 17 from Africa, 14 from Asia and 4 from Oceania. Australian IOC member Phil Coles has voted 6 times.
When the presentations are concluded, the doors are shut and locked, and the voting can take starts. And we are locked into that room. We are not allowed to leave that room under any circumstances while the voting takes place.
The cities are knocked out of the voting one after the other. This is how it happened 4 years ago when there were just 86 IOC members voting. In the first round, Belgrade, with the lowest number of votes, was eliminated. In the second round, Manchester lost out. Then Melbourne, then Toronto, leaving only Athens and Atlanta for the final round.
At that time, and the doors are still locked, the chairman will announce that a winner has been achieved, but even he won't know who it is. It's in a sealed envelope, and then at a given time we will all remove ourselves from the session room and go to another place where the president will announce on television to the world the winner.
The International Olympic Committee has awarded the 1996 Olympic Games to the city of Atlanta.
And if the unthinkable happens and we don't win the games?
Well, if we're not successful, there'll be a lot of sadness for some time.
Will we bid again? I have no idea.
If I've got anything to do with it, I'd say enough is enough, and it's 2000, or don't talk to us for another 20 years.
By any measure, Sydney's bid has been a remarkable effort, not just by the people of Sydney and New South Wales, but by the people of Australia. Brisbane and Melbourne bids have proved invaluable, and the Australian business community has shared the spirit along the way. The IOC saw ours as a popular bid, and Sydney could not have asked for anything more.